Welcome adventurers. So for those who don't know, we're a channel based on narratively told battle reports, hobby hangouts, and community lore videos. Now, with that said, do you want to help to defeat those YouTube algorithm gods? Want to know how? Yeah! Simply like and comment. But what do I comment? And my question to you is, do you actively create stories for your characters, or isn't this something that interests you? And for those who are interested, we have created a whole pocket realm where you can look to place your characters, your settlements, or basically everything that you can think of relating to your hobby lore within our pocket realm. And by doing so, you do actually have a chance of it coming to life within our community lore videos. To find out more, please click the link down below. That is the Great Weave link. You can always reach out to us via our socials. Lastly, before we start this video, I just want to say thank you to you all for all your continued support, and a massive thanks to those folks who have been active members in our community: Alejandro, Pete, Paul, Kitten, Negama, Nuno, Keegan, Dave, and Adam, to name a few. And now, we hope you enjoy it. Duskwood Tomb, Chapter 2.
Komio advances through the forest and ruins. He only had one usable arm due to the previous encounter with some ogres, so he was in no condition to fight. He steps quickly but lightly, his eyes searching for the treasure they sought, but in his haste he nearly didn't see the gigantic hammer slam down in front of him. He stops, sliding just short of the ground, shaking Hammerfall. The earth reverberates from the impact, and a brief flash of expended lightning crackles across the ground in webs of arcing azure energies. The sound gave him terrifying memories of fighting an ogre tyrant in a previous encounter, one that nearly ended his life. Thankfully, his luck hadn't called his last day yet. The giant of a man gives out a long huff of air as he heaves his retributor hammer back up.
"Stand still,"
he orders, his voice cold and stern.
"Oi oi, namennayo,"
he says quietly, eyes darting and mind racing for his options. A hammer like that would likely end his life almost effortlessly. What tactical maneuver would allow him to gain the advantage over such an overwhelming opponent? He put his cunning to the test.
"Sore wa nan daro?"
he shouts out suddenly, pointing with his claws in the other direction. The hulking retributor shifts his gaze just momentarily, and that is enough for Komio to dart past him, laughing and shouting once he makes some distance.
"Sugoi daro, ore wa."
The giant Stormcast turns to pursue, but a raven dart glances off his shoulder guard, forcing him to turn his attention to the new threat. Tatsumaki unslings her shadow cleaver and stands her ground, pointing the blade towards her quarry and giving a short nod. Lightning crackles along the head of the grand hammer held by Balian. Sparks light up the deep recesses of his helmet, and a rumble of thunder escapes his lips.
"A challenge. I appreciate the courtesy."
He breathes in sharply as he shifts his weight and hefts the hammer behind him, only to lunge forwards as the earth breaks in his wake and the tang of ozone permeates the air. One of the younger Tories move at incredible speeds through the forest, diving and rolling between the shining lights of the Lord Castellan's lantern. There was no guarantee that this diversion would work, and if there was no other alternative, they'd have to fight or sneak their way to their goal. The enemy numbers seemed small, and their clunky armor made their presence obvious to her keen senses. The Castellan moves nearby, his lantern burning so brightly that it almost hurts the eyes of the Cabalist, perhaps due to the strange properties of this magical beacon. With some luck, if she remains hidden, he'll overlook her and walk by. Judging by the sound, his footsteps are fading away, and she looks to make a further sprint towards the party's goal. Quay pounces without so much as a sound, claws raking at the Cabalist and its sharpened beak tearing through cloth and flesh. The Gryph-hound is relentless in his assault, spurred on by the drawn blood and perhaps by the cursing screams of its victim. It rears up its head, ready to send a killing blow to its prey, but leaps backwards instead, trying to avoid the swift slash of a concealed weapon. Hiku dives in from an angle, swinging a large arc with her blade. It catches the beast unaware despite its keen senses, and although it avoids a mortal wound, it is left injured and blooded.
大丈夫?
She asks the wounded Tori, eyes still locked on the Gryph-hound growling in front of her.
はい。
The Tori announces, trying to remain calm and alert through the blood loss and getting up from the pool of her own blood forming on the ground.
よかった。
Hiku replies with a sigh.
今、逃げる。
She holds her blades outstretched, as if blocking any further advances from the Gryph-hound. The Tori hesitates momentarily, but leaves quickly, grateful for the reprieve. The Gryph-hound chirps and trills as his prey scampers away, but his aggressive stance becomes more neutral with the approach of heavy footsteps from behind him. Haldus Salomon approaches with his lantern swinging gently with each sway, the searing light almost painful in the eyes of the spire stalker. His large halberd glinted with a holy sheen, as if forged from the purest of silver. Hiku looks at her two foes, wondering if she'll live beyond this encounter, and readies her blades. A sudden dart strikes the Gryph-hound in his hindquarters, making it yelp and flinch. One of the Tories leap down to slash his cruel daggers upon the creature, giving it a large gash across its beak and face. Blood flicks into his eyes, causing it to panic and back away. Haldus gives a quick signal whistle and orders it away.
Quay, away from here.
Readying his holy halberd. Hiku looks to strike down the bird dog before he can run away, but a swift reprisal from the Lord Castellan knocks her prone. The Tori goes to aid her, and the two make a swift retreat before the heavy Stormcast leader can give further chase. Thunder cracks as the Retributor hammer makes contact, rattling Tatsumaki's bones as her blade reverberates from the parry. The azure energy shocks her skin and makes her flinch unconsciously. The two had exchanged blows for several minutes now, it seemed, but to her it had felt like hours of intense exertion. Every block and parry had to be precise, or the hammer would have claimed her life ages ago. Despite the weight of the immense weapon and the strength behind each attack, the Stormcast Paladin showed no signs of exhaustion or slowing down, something that had started to catch up with Tatsumaki. Attacking was limited as well, as the wide swings and the length of his weapon kept her at a distance and outside of her own striking range, but with each parry and evading attack, she had a better idea of his attack range. Balian makes a backswing once more, readying his hammer for a large horizontal sweep in front of him. Just then, Tatsumaki could hear the sound of movement overhead in the treetops, and knew this was her moment to strike. Stepping forwards into the path of the hammer, she makes a low rake, swinging with her cleaver. The hammer is so close that it smashes her bone mask apart into a shower of fragments, revealing her gleaming red eyes. The sound of the impact resonates in her head like a thunderous rumble. The beak of her cleaver cuts deep into the leg armor of the Retributor, bringing the large man to his knees as Tatsumaki draws back the blade towards her with a sudden jerk. From above, Omine comes down with her blades like the sound of a diving bird of prey. She lands gracefully upon the shoulders of the lumbering Stormcast warrior and plunges her comet deep between the armor plates. Another Tori comes from the flank, sinking a dagger into the exposed underarm. Their combined efforts brings down the large man into a pool of his spilling blood. Tatsumaki gives a quick nod to the others as a loud signal call goes out. Komio was successful in his raid, and they needed to withdraw quickly before their foes can regroup. They dash away, leaving the corpse of the Retributor for the carrion birds. Haldus makes haste after his loyal Gryph-hound. Even injured and hobbling, the creature moves swiftly compared to the Castellant in heavy plate armor. The shining lantern helps to light the way as his companion follows the scent of blood. The Chaos followers had raided the tomb of some valuables, but this was not his main concern at the moment. Balian lays dying, his own blood ruining most of the purity scrolls of his weapon, silently outside of his reach. He sputters up a gurgling cough as blood spills out of his helm. Haldus kneels beside the broken man and carefully removes his helmet. His usually sparking eyes were dim, and the deep color of his skin was turning pale from the blood loss.
I fail,
he says softly, the thunder behind his voice quiet and weak.
No, brother. You fought valiantly.
Haldus reassured, his eyes searching through the gloom of the dusk woods, hoping to see a comet streak overhead that would signal salvation. Zadion leans against Patreus as the prosecutor lends him a shoulder. The Liberator too had seen better days, but he was still standing, his armor battered and shield nearly rent asunder. Zadion had given a quick prayer to Sigmar for the luck he had received today, but upon seeing Balian though, he had made a much more solemn prayer.
Is there anything you can do for him, my lord?
He asks of the Lord Castellant. His lantern shines over the gravely wounded paladin, scintillating light seemingly providing comfort, but doing nothing to stop the bleeding. The liquid crackled as it met the air, as if electrified by the power of his ear. Haldus grimaces, a sense of helplessness coming over him. He finally puts his lantern down and whispers his own prayer. Reaching into a deep pouch, he pulls a small vial containing a small yellow crystalline substance. Despite the consuming darkness of the woods, it reflected light brilliantly, or perhaps even emitted light by itself. Removing the stopper, he tilts Balian's head towards the open vial.
Take a deep breath, and hold it.
Balian breathes in the crystals through his mouth, fighting back the urge to cough or retch. The feeling passes quickly, and a sense of revigoration courses through his body. Wounds stitch over, and the bleeding is staunched almost instantaneously. Still feeling weak, he borrows strength from the Lord Castellant, standing slowly with labored movements.
What's that?
Harmonite, yes. The only vial I had of it.
Haldus explained matter-of-factly. He was not proud of using such a thing, but without the possibility of their souls returning, it seemed like a necessity.
I had heard the stories, but never seen it used or the effects of it.
Zadion said, his neutral face mask hiding his surprise and shock.
But if that was your last one, then...
Yes. We'll need to seek out our brothers from Harmonia.
Tatsumaki reconvenes with her clan after several hours of swift travel. Tired and injured, they finally find respite in the canopy of the large smoking oak tree. Its tendrils of smoking leaves obscuring them from anyone's view, giving them a sense of privacy and safety. Komio presented her with the spoils of the tomb. He had also picked up a crow skull fetish that was also held within the tomb, but Tatsumaki was far more interested in the flask that she had seen visions of. A flask of seemingly useless lump of clay. A few of them questioned why they had sought out such a seemingly worthless item, but Tatsumaki knew better. As the clan Shadowpiercer, she was trained from a young age to see beyond such tricks and illusions, able to see this treasure for what it truly was. A stone of great deception, changing form as if sentient to elude any pursuers. It was, as the name suggested, lies given form.
影の宝石。本当に素晴らしい。